Hello friends, and welcome back. So we got the Mille Lacs Lake, no more secrets, volume, whatever. This is gonna be for May. We got out on opening day, me and a good buddy of mine went out and chased the brown ones, and what we found was the bite was a little bit weird. We did get numbers and we caught a pretty good bag, but it was really sporadic, I would say. Fish were not really in the patterns that I was looking for them in the morning time, and so I kind of changed things up, changed my depths just a little bit, and that's when I actually locked onto them. So ended up fishing from about 6 in the morning until about, I don't know, 8 o'clock at night, and the bite really picked up between, I'd say 6 at night and 8 at night. That's when we got on like probably the best bite of the day. Early morning time, it would have been good. We kind of ran into some problems. I ran into a couple different areas and didn't really catch on to what was going on with the pattern as far as that went, but we really cleaned house at nighttime. So throughout the afternoon, the bite was pretty scattered in my mind. So what we did, guys, is we were targeting shallow rock spines, big boulder clusters that would come off of those shallow rock spines, and we were really looking for the fish to be in those areas, and they were not saturated as much as what I typically see them, but we were able to pull off some nice fish doing that, running that pattern for the day. Depths that we were finding them in were about 5 to 10 feet of water, I'd say. I never really fished deeper than 10 feet. So I'm gonna give you guys a gambit. I'm gonna show you guys exactly what we were using out there. And these are gonna be baits that I would run all spring, guys. So I'm gonna give you guys a good look at these. So first off, I'll start off with this, okay? Now, in the springtime, a Ned rig is definitely really tough to beat, especially if those fish get a little bit slow. Really good during cold fronts. I would say during cold fronts, this is probably one of my favorite baits to fish. So I'll start with the Ned rig. This is an Outcast Tackle Perfect Ned, 1/8 ounce. Like I said, I'm fishing really shallow, so 1/8 ounce is really important. It's gonna keep you from getting snagged up a bunch. Definitely has a great hook on it. And then for the bait, I'm using a Strike King Baby Z2 Morning Dawn. So definitely a good setup. And then for the rod, we got a Halo HFX Series 7-foot medium rod. This is a great bottom contact rod, guys. I get really good sensitivity out of it, and definitely really good bend on the pole. Now for the reel I'm using Shimano 4000 XG Sustain. These Shimano Sustains are awesome reels. I do own a couple Vanfords, and I'd tell you guys this much. Like, you don't have to get the Shimano Sustain. You could definitely get Vanfords and you'd be really happy with it. But I am in love with this spinning reel. It's probably one of the nicer ones that I own. I'm using the 4000 series. The reason why is because I think that in these newer reels, that the technology is so good in them, they make them so light that you can bump up into that 4000 series without compromising the overall feel of your rod. They make rods really light nowadays. These HFX series rods are pretty light, and so I thought I'd try a 4000 series, and it pairs really, really good. Bigger arbor, more drag capacity, wider spool so you get more line on it. It's just the overall advantages are much better, and I noticed I could cast a hell of a lot farther. I'm running Daiwa J-braid on this Grand 10-pound test. In this Daiwa J-braid, you can cast really far with, so I'm definitely impressed with it. Overall, great setup to have for a Ned rig. All right, next. You can't go to Mille Lacs in the springtime without a jerkbait. You know, and this is probably one of my favorite jerkbait rods that I've ever held. And one of the nice parts about this is made like a premium jerkbait rod, but at the same time, it's price point friendly. So I think Halo did a great job with this rod. It's a technique specific rod designed by Justin Hammer. This is the Halo BB series jerkbait rod. So what it is it is a 6'11" medium heavy rod. And I think in one of my videos I misspoke and I called it a medium rod. And the reason why I did is because I just assumed most jerkbait rods are mediums. And so like I just assumed that it was a medium until I actually looked on the handle and realized, oh my gosh, it actually is medium heavy. And I think that Halo did a great job with it. So where I find it being a medium is up in the tip and in the backbone. It's got a really good parabolic bend. And then at the same time, it's got a sturdy backbone for catching big ones. Another thing that I found this really good for was largie fishing too as well. You guys know that I love using the Mega Bass Vision 110. That's probably my favorite jerkbait, but I thought I'd bring out a price point friendly jerkbait for you guys today, and this is the Rapala Shadow Wrap. They're relatively cheap compared. It's not spending $28 on a jerkbait. This is a really good color for me in the springtime. I definitely don't like natural colors when it's really sunny out. I kind of like running stuff that's a little bit flashier. This is a clown pattern, one of my favorite colors to run when it gets really sunny and clear like it was yesterday. For the reel that I'm using a Daiwa Tatula SV70. It's a compact reel by Daiwa, 10-pound Daiwa Samurai fluoro. This thing casts like a dream, and it makes the overall setup super, super, super light. I got kind of a bum shoulder and a bum elbow, so I gotta have a light rod in order to work this bait without getting tennis elbow with it all day. So definitely my favorite jerkbait setup. All right, next, we got drop shot. So I know the bed season's coming up, guys, and so you guys are gonna wanna have a drop shot tied on. I did run into a couple fish on beds yesterday. They were locked on beds. It was pretty surprising. We're way, way up shallow, and my buddy Brandon actually caught a 5-pounder on a bed too. So fish are definitely moving up, but this is what I'm gonna use when I'm bed fishing or when I'm drop shotting in the springtime. This right here is a Halo HFX medium light 7-foot rod, extremely, extremely light. I have it paired up with the Daiwa Fuego. And then for the bait that I'm using, I have this rigged up kind of unique, I guess. This would be a Net Baits flat-sided shad 4.5-inch bait, and it's just a nasty bait. If you look at the action on it, it's got incredible action on it. And then I'm using an Owner Cover Shot 2 hook. Now what's unique about the Owner hook is if you look in here, there's a plastic keeper right here. Actually, I don't think it's plastic. I think that's monofilament, or maybe it's fluorocarbon, but it's made out of line, I believe, and then they tie it on, and that's a bait keeper, and then it slides right up over the bait. And that's one thing that I really like about the Owner Cover Shot. I do use actual drop shot hooks when I'm nose hooking things, but when I'm fully threading the whole bait on, that's when I'll bump it up and use either like a VMC Nico hook #2 or like an Owner Cover Shot #2. Just something where I can thread the whole bait on. I feel like I can catch more fish without the bait ripping. And then on the end of it, I got an 1/8 ounce drop shot weight, and this is just a slide sinker by Real Tungsten. And the reason why I use 1/8 ounce is because we're fishing so shallow, just like the Ned rig. I don't want to get snagged a bunch, so I do drop down in weight. If you're bed fishing, I strongly suggest using like a 3/8 or a 1/2 ounce just to get you to the bed and on the bed without it moving around so much. So definitely a great bait, great drop shot setup, and I really am digging this rod. For the reel, I have on a Daiwa Fuego. It's a price point reel. I think they're like $100. Probably one of the best $100 reels that you can buy. Daiwa Fuego 3000. 10-pound braid, 10-pound Daiwa J braid, going to a 10-pound test Seagar and VizX leader. All right, next. Now, I told you guys in the largemouth video, I'm messing around with Daiwa Samurai fluorocarbon, Seagar Tatsu, and Seagar and VizX. Next, we got a chatterbait. I didn't catch any on chatterbait yesterday, and typically I'm gonna use all white, but I was out largemouth fishing today, so I'm just gonna show you guys basically what we're using. What we got is we got a jackhammer chatterbait. Now just imagine this being all white, okay? That right there is the Net Bait whiptail shad, and typically I would run all white on it. And then what I'm running on is a fiberglass rod. I think that fiberglass is really important on not any, but most moving baits, especially the moving baits where the fish is in pursuit of it. They take and they bite it, but you can't get hook set heavy on it. This is not a bait that I feel like you can really strongly hook set it on, especially on a graphite rod with all braid. You're gonna rip the bait out of its mouth. And I really think that the fluorocarbon and the fiberglass dim down that bite sensitivity to where you can't feel it. So that way, when you're reeling it in, all of a sudden the fish is just there and you're hooked up. I think that you lose way less fish doing it this way. And like I said, for Mille Lacs pre-spawn, I'm throwing all white typically with maybe a little bit of chartreuse or shad color in it. But yeah, 7'4", medium heavy fiberglass rod with all 20-pound Daiwa Samurai fluorocarbon, and it's gonna make your life a lot better using the right rod when you're fishing a chatterbait. You're gonna miss way less fish. Next, we got the swimmer. This is the net bait blip minnow. This thing is deadly, you guys. I see a lot of different things I could do with this bait. Definitely a great bait to have out pre-spawn on Mille Lacs. You know, they're looking for small stuff. Everything's small when the water's cold. So you got small perch, you got smaller crawdad. This is the perfect finesse bait. You could even stroll it and play with them with it on live scope like you would a jig and a minnow. Throwing it on a round ball jig, so it's really easy to fish. I'm casting out and just slow retrieving it over rock and stuff like that. I'm running an 1/8 ounce simply because I just don't want to get hung up. Just like the Ned rig, I don't want to get hung up a bunch. I'm fishing super shallow. Now, if we were to bump into that 12 to 15 foot range, that's when you might see me use like a 3/16 maybe, or something like that. But this is definitely a great finesse swim bait trailer to use. You also use it as a drop shot bait as well. But definitely a fish catcher, and I caught a lot of them with this yesterday. The rod that I'm using is a Halo KS2 Elite. This is one of their better spinning rods. I really do like it. It is a medium. It's a 7-foot medium KS2 Elite, and it is definitely a good rod. It's got good sensitivity on it. It casts really well, and I'm definitely impressed with it so far this year. And then the reel that I'm using is a Daiwa Tatula 3000 LT. I got Power Pro SSV2 on this reel with Daiwa Samurai fluorocarbon 10-pound test. So definitely a great little setup for your swim bait. And I've been just messing around with these rods, guys. You know, I'm just working with Halo. This is my first year working with Halo, and so I might come back and say that I figured out a better use for a specific rod or something like that, or, you know, I'm gonna be messing around with them a lot this year though, just testing them out. Next, we got a lot of them today. This is the Halo BB Series scoping rod. And I think this one too was designed by Justin Hamner. It's a 7'1" medium powered rod, and they did a perfect job on this rod. Typically I like shorter rods, but by the way that they made this tip, okay, so I put barely any pressure. This is probably a little bit faster than fast, like quick. That action on that tip is perfect for when you hook up with them. Caught a few doing this yesterday, and I'll show you guys how I have this rigged up. Okay, so what I do is I put a little clip on this, okay? And that clip is to kind of simulate the same idea that it would be when I use that VMC ringed EWG hook. It just gives the bait more action and more freedom to move. Okay, so if you see that when I hold the clip and I just move it side to side, see how freely that thing moves? So it just gives the bait a little bit more action and makes it look more natural to me. I got a net bait prop duster, 3.5 inch on this thing. This prop duster is a fish catcher, man. You stroll this thing over the top of their heads and they're gonna eat it. Caught a couple walleye doing this yesterday when I think that they were smallmouth. I'd throw on them and they could not stand this thing. So definitely a great bait. I got this on a Daiwa Kage 3000 LT MQ. They're super light, they're perfect for doing this technique. If you guys look at the way I got this rigged, I got a Seaguar Tatsu leader on here, but the way how I have it is I only have about a foot of leader line. The reason why is because I think that you can get more accurate casts, you can cast faster. So when you are constantly scoping fish, one of the big things that you do is, boom, you see it and you gotta throw on it like now. Having a shorter leader just makes those casts much more accurate to me. And I'm not worried about them seeing the main line for some reason. I just don't think it's a big deal. The head that I got on this is a custom head, and we can't really get into it right now, but maybe next month we can. That is the jig and minnow setup, and I strongly suggest using a head with a good hook. That's probably one of the big keys to success with using a jig and minnow outside of catching them is having a really strong hook in it. In my opinion, we have the hair jig. So, caught a few on a hair jig yesterday. You know, this is a great bait for when they're starting to move up. This is a VMC marabou hair jig, and it's a pretty good hair jig, man. They got good hooks in them. This is a 1/16. I like the 1/16. It's a little bit lighter than the 1/8. It allows me to fish it just a little bit slower. And if I wanted to even fish it just even slower than the way I have been, I'd probably drop down into a 3/32. This is perfect for when the fish are feeding up. Right now, the water's really clear on the pond. So in my mind, the fish are gonna be looking up. We haven't had a big bug hatch yet, but I've been seeing bugs swimming on the water. And so they are gonna be looking up this time of year. That's when the hair jig really shines. The rod that I'm using is a Halo HFX series 7'4" medium light. And I can promise you guys, this rod gets it out there. This is a really good hair jig rod. The reel that I'm using, I got a Daiwa Tatula 3000 LT with 8-pound Daiwa J braid. And then I have a 10-pound test Daiwa Samurai fluorocarbon leader on it. And one reason, guys, one thing that I want to tell you guys about this Daiwa J braid is it casts extremely well. It's really good for casting ultra light baits. It's part of the reason why I got into throwing this. So yeah, man, I'm telling you guys right now, you guys need a good hair jig setup. This is a really good cost-effective hair jig setup right here. You're not spending $700 on a hair jig rod. This is a great price-friendly rod. Another thing with the hair jig too, usually I like using a little bit longer of a leader as well. Next, we have the tube. And this is what did a lot of damage for us yesterday, man. A lot of damage. The tube absolutely killed them, and I was using a really small one, 2 3/4 inch, and then I got a VMC tube dominator jig on this, 1/8 ounce. Again, fishing so shallow, you got to have that lighter jig on just so you don't get caught up as bad. This has got a little bit of rock damage on it too as well. But running this on a Halo KS2 Elite 7-foot medium rod. Fast action rod. The reel that I'm using is a Daiwa Tatula 3000 CXH, and then I am running 10-pound Seaguar Tatsu on this reel. So definitely, as far as the leader goes, I'm running Seaguar Tatsu 10-pound test. Definitely a great setup for a tube. Caught a lot of fish on it. This rod is pretty sensitive, price friendly. Definitely a great rod to have in the rod locker. You know, this tube, the way that I was fishing it yesterday was I was fishing it extremely slow. So, you know, barely lifting it up, dropping it down, lifting it up, dropping it down. And when I would get snagged on the rocks, oftentimes what I do is I just feel for it and pull off of them. If I thought I was getting bit, they were biting really light. So sometimes I couldn't even feel it and I'd have to line watch them. And so, you know, it's really important to keep the snags down, to not just when you feel something hit your bait, to just pull up on it, get it sunk, and sit here and do this over and over and over again. It's probably not a fish. So it could probably save you a ton of time. We have a pretty good guide schedule. So I do have some openings in the month of May and June. Definitely hit me up on Instagram or Facebook if you guys are interested in a trip. You can check out my website, sambrainerdfishing.com. Go ahead, follow me on Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook. And until next time, boys, we'll see you on the water.